We are the Hollywood Paranormal Detectives.
That's right. Tonight we turn the tables. Hello, everybody. Welcome to HPD Live. I'm your host, Sunburned Steve. If you look, I got the Freddy skin going. I'll see you in your dreams. Ping. Got the Freddy skin going. I'm a little sunburned, but I'm still here, pushing through, making the fight. Before I bring him up, I want to say tonight's show is sponsored by Red Bull. Just kidding. No, it's not. But please, Red Bull, if you're watching, ghost hunting Red Bull. That's money. Come on, Red Bull. Come on. Text me. Come on. Anyway, tonight, let me bring him in. You know, I've been denying him the first call, but here he is. My main man, the Bry Man. And he's gone. And he's What's up, Bry?
Not too much, Steven. Too much.
All right. Are you ready to rap for me?
I don't rap.
All right. He doesn't rap, but she does. Here she is, beatbox queen, Crazy Mandy.
My God. Stop. I can't.
It's called entertainment, you guys. It's called
Bust out a rhyme.
What kind of rhyme you want about HPD Live? All you got a paranormal because it's not normal. Gonna talk to Mandy because she's
Mandy
Maisie. Anyway, tonight we turn the tables. The interviewer now becomes the interviewee. The Dead Hours is one of my favorite shows on Paraflix, and I think I even fanboyed out and messaged her a long time ago. I was like, "Can I be on your show?" And then she let me be on her show. It's great. She's all over the paranormal map. She helps groups out finding locations. She's putting together the Paracon, the one and only rapping queen, Vivian Noir. Here she is.
Yay.
That is one heck of an intro. Thank you so much.
Thunderous applause. I need buttons that do sounds. Like
a little soundboard buttons.
like thunderous applause and a horn and chicken sounds. And
yes.
Vivian, welcome to a very high energy HPD Live.
I am glad to be here on a very high energy evening.
Episode is brought to you by Red Bull, but really it's not. Come on, Red Bull.
Everybody knows paranormal investigators need to stay up, so come on.
Anyway, all right. Vivian, you are the host of the Dead Hours.
Yes.
It is an interview show on Paraflix.
Correct.
Now, is this a show you started for Paraflix, or was this something you were already doing before Paraflix came along, or did it all just kind of coincide into magic?
So the Dead Hours was something I was doing on YouTube before Paraflix started. So a lot of the older interviews are still on YouTube. Some of the original ones with like New Reality and with Haunted Side and with some of the other teams that I've interviewed are still on there. So when Paraflix started, I was like, this sounds like an interesting, like really cool venture. Like, why isn't there a Netflix strictly for paranormal, right? Because there's other than like fictional shows and like sci-fi shows, there's not really, I mean, Discovery aside, because Discovery is really the only one that has any of the paranormal stuff. Yeah. But and there's no service
after Paraflix too. You know,
exactly.
You can almost say they got the idea of let's throw all our crap on one thing.
Exactly, because that was after the fact. So before that, there was like nothing. There was like, you know, you were stricken hard to find like a good paranormal show like on any streaming service. Mm-hmm. So I was like, this is a really good idea. That's a really niche thing that people would be into. So I emailed and I was like, my show's doesn't have that many subscribers and there's not that many viewers, but what the heck, you know, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? So that's right. I was like emailed Natalie and was like, hey, here's my show. And then I had an interview with her and then it just all kind of came together.
Yeah, it's a good show. You've interviewed some good unexplained cases and we worked with them. We did the Suicide Bridge with their medium, Miriam. A lot of good stuff. Now, do you like to interview more, or are you at your heart more of an investigator?
I really like I don't get into the field as much as I used to, so I do miss there's aspects of it that I do miss, so I try to get out there as much as possible. I think I probably do like investigating more than interviewing, but I always find interviewing also fascinating because there's everybody with different experiences and stuff that I love to hear about. There's always stories and stuff, right?
Yeah. What was that, Brian? Who are you?
Oh, I was just agreeing with the liking investigating more.
It's great to talk shop with people, but like there's nothing that's the same as like getting out there and actually doing it, right?
Yeah. I'm always at work and people are like, "Oh, I wish I was home," and I'm like, "I wish I was in an abandoned insane asylum right now."
I wish I was in an abandoned hospital. Huh?
Can't I be in a lunatic asylum alone right now in a basement, trapped in a morgue?
Lay sigh.
So where did it all start from you? When did you go from, just normal kid that likes cartoons to I want to see if ghosts are real? Like, where was that? Was it a first experience? Was it a first show? Was it a movie? What was your catalyst to the paranormal?
I think I was always like the spooky kid. Like I was always the the kid that liked the weird stuff. Like one of my very first Halloween costumes, I asked to be the Grim Reaper for Halloween when I was 6.
My son is 6, and I can imagine him asking it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Like my mom did my face paint. My dad even they didn't make child size ones. They had to figure out how to make a small robe for me, and my dad sawed the end off of a plastic side so it was child size. So I think I was always the weird spooky kid, and I read scary stories to tell in the dark. I can't tell you how many times.
Yeah.
So it was I think a natural progression of I would just read those, and then it was reading the real ghost story books, and then getting a Ouija board when I was 12. So that it just kind of one thing kind of seemed to it was just dominoes at a point. So it was always something interesting for me, starting with a love of horror and the macabre, and just kind of naturally progressed from there.
And now, what was the first experience that made you go, I found something?
Probably it was in my house, and it was weird. I was by myself in my parents' house. I was probably about 15, and I was by myself reading in our family room, and the chair I was sitting in back faced to the walkway that led from the rest of the house into the kitchen. There was literally no way that anyone could have walked behind me. If you would have walked behind me in that chair, you would have been passing within less than a foot of me. So it was pretty close. So I'm sitting there and I'm reading, and suddenly the light next to me goes out. And I was like, oh, that's weird. The bulb must have gone out or something. So then I check it, I take it out and I jiggle it, and I was like, okay, well, it didn't pop. It didn't make any weird noise or anything. So then I put the bulb back and I go to check the switch, and the switch is down.
Oh.
If anybody had walked there to reach, I would have heard. You're literally passing within a foot of my head.
Yeah.
And there was nothing. There was nothing. Nobody had walked in, no shadows, no nothing. And I was just like, oh, I'm gonna go get the Ouija board and find out who's in my house. I
love those moments where you're standing there.
Natural response.
And you're just kind of looking around that's impossible.
That's weird. That shouldn't be. And then I was immediate reaction, I'm gonna go get the Ouija board. I was like, Mom, somebody turned the light off in the thing. Come get the Ouija board.
Wow. So what was the first location you dove into? What was the first time the way people say you're going ghost hunting, what was the first time you grabbed the equipment and went into a spot?
So the first time I used to have a podcast that I did with a few friends of mine that was horror podcast plus ghost plus paranormal, plus, pretty much anything spooky. And we went to the Mizpah Hotel in Tonopah for an episode and stayed in the Lady in Red's room. And then we did some EVPs in the Tonopah Cemetery and captured some really interesting EVPs out there next to the Clown Motel, which is equally terrifying, and I won't stay in there. Clowns, no. Cemetery, yes. But that's, I think, probably the first place we actually took equipment and actually went to do a professional thing. And let me tell you, that hotel is haunted for sure. As that cemetery. Yeah, the Mizpah in Tonopah.
Mandy has stayed there and has had experiences.
So haunted.
It's so haunted. It's everything.
That's all I can say.
Top
Is
to
it's
bottom,
so
and that
haunted.
place is haunted.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Like people talk this newest talk of simulation.
Mhm.
Have you heard the latest one of explain a bus to me? How can your 2-seated car that you can touch from side to side fit in the same lane, a 4-seat bus with a space in the middle, and you can't touch side to side? How do they go down the same road if we're not in a simulation? That's just good programming. I feel like the Mizpah is that. I feel like you go in this little building and there's a big building inside.
It definitely feels bigger on the because it looks tiny. Like when you see it from the
looks
street,
so-
it's itty bitty.
It looks small and short, and then you go in and you go, there's a 4th or 5th floor. Like it's like,
And there's a basement. Like
yeah, and it's like
wild.
it's good programming. That's what I'm saying.
There's also a part in the basement where if you go out far enough, because there used to be an original entry that they had to like rebuild from the street so that you can see the original, like where the original hotel entrance was from underneath, which is wild. Like, and that basement is super dupes haunted too.
See, I haven't done that. We need to do the Mizpah. We
I
ate
know the
dinner
first-
there.
We had dinner there.
Oh yeah. And did you go to the Diamond Jim Brady room or the other? Because the Diamond Jim Brady room's haunted too.
We ate at Pittman.
Oh, okay, at Pittman.
Yeah.
I like the food there.
Yeah, they have good food.
It was good.
It took a long time though to get our food.
I really like that.
It does a little bit, but like, I mean, that place is just crazy. Like, it's nonstop from like
No.
the time you get into the hotel. From like, you'll hear footsteps in the hallway. We would hear footsteps in the hallway. Nobody there. There's no like, and you're like, oh, okay, it's like a maid or something coming to change the. Nope.
It's
There's
got
no
a
one out
very Queen Mary kind of Stanley Hotel time machine vibe.
Yeah,
Um,
very much so. Very much.
Totally.
So.
You definitely change where you're at. You're not in the normal world anymore. God, I love that place. I want to go more. I want to leave the house, right, guys? I gotta go. I gotta go investigate.
So we're gonna cut this short. I have to leave.
Okay, so when was the first time you got a team? Is PEX is that your team, or is that more of a production company?
That's a production. So that's like, so basically what it's me, myself, and Jamie Lee. I've worked with her before. We kind of met through the haunted side because that's who, like, she would do events with them. And then I was doing a location scouting with them. And Patrick was like, hey, he's like, why don't you guys like chit chat, because Jamie Lee wanted to start doing more paranormal events. And I know a lot of people just because of my interviewing and stuff like that. So I have a lot of like inroads for talent. So her idea was to do like, I'd really like to do a paranormal convention that's a little different than most paranormal conventions. Because a lot of them rely, now some of them do kind of do investigations too, but it feels like a lot of them do the thing where they set up booths and you walk around and you visit people's booths and you chit chat with people, and they have like, they have like displays up showing their show or having merch or whatever, but none that really hinge solely on investigating with the teams. So that's kind of where that all came from. I've only ever investigated with my podcast coworkers, myself not filmed, and then a few other teams that I've like done like guest appearances on their show. But mostly solo stuff. I just usually mostly do kind of solo stuff, and I don't really film it.
And so you would say you were location scouting.
Yes.
So how does that happen? Like, do you go to small towns alone and drive around? Do you look for addresses and then like go downtown? How do you find? Let's say you find a building in Goldfield. You go, this place is perfect. How do I get my boys in there? Like,
right.
How does that?
So happen? I basically do a lot of it is some of it is driving around and finding places. Some of it is, a good portion of it, honestly, is just being online and like Googling stuff and finding things on Facebook and finding contact information and like looking up the contact us, or like who do I call, and like calling the location and finding out who the manager is, who the person that books things like that is. I mean, and even sometimes just blind emailing places that are known to be haunted. Like, I'll look up things that if one of my teams is going to another state, I'll be like, hey, what are the haunted locations in this state? Or like, what are some of the haunted places? Because I'm having to virtually do it because some of these places are states away and I don't have an ability to get there. So I'll be like, oh, that place looks cool, and I'll look at pictures of it, kind of read the history of it, just to see like what, kind of do the due diligence before before emailing, and then seeing if it's, because there are some places that are haunted that don't want that kind of attention. So you kind of have to look into that first. Does this place want to even be contacted? There's a very cool hotel in Jerome, Arizona that I wish did investigations, but they've changed ownership and they don't do it now. They used to.
Grand?
Yes.
No, they don't let anybody do anything anymore?
Mm-hmm. No, I emailed and they changed the ownership, and I guess the new ownership doesn't really want to be associated with paranormal stuff. They kind of want the focus not on that.
That place, you walk around it still looks like an old hospital.
Yeah, I was like, this looks like a hospital from the outside.
You better change some of these doors and stuff. This does not look like a hotel.
Yeah, so I was like, well, that's a bummer. And then there's some that they're like, we want to focus on the history of the building and not the paranormal side of it. So you have to make sure that you're even welcome in to begin with. And then once you find out if you are, then you kind of can start the negotiations of like, okay, well, what do you need to allow a team in there? How many hours can they be in there? And the all important question, how much is it going to cost? Because sometimes places are cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
There's a new thing that they think it's worth more now. I don't know.
And I think they think every team is Ghost Adventures and has tons of money.
Or something like
because I'm like, no.
Places that were 500 a year, but pre-pandemic places that were 500 or 5,000.
Yeah.
And they're like, and since you're filming, it's more. And it's like, but you used to be $400. We've been here.
Like,
we used to come here every weekend because you were so cheap. Like,
yeah, because you were cheap. And now they're like, yeah, well, since Paranormal exploded on YouTube and everybody wants to film here, we figured out we can make more money. Mm-hmm. I think the largest figure I was ever quoted was $20,000
oh my
for a location. God. And I was like, I don't need the whole building. They're like, it's the whole building or nothing, basically. It was like, we can't just do a floor at a time. It's the whole building, and you have to buy out the entire building. And I was like, yeah, we're good. Like,
never mind.
Yeah, they're giving you the same number they would give like NBC if they wanted to film.
Yeah. I was like, I don't work for Discovery Channel, yo. I don't got this kind of money. I was like, like, I don't know what kind of budget you think I have, but I don't.
It could be like some of these bigger YouTubers may be throwing big money.
And that's entirely possible. Maybe that's what they're like, okay, this is our market price of like, this is what larger shows can pay. So that's where
like
we
the
put
Sam and Colby's might be like just offering like a lot to people.
Yeah.
Because they go everywhere. They even they did Zach's Haunted Museum. So they had to throw him some big money.
I saw that.
Oh, that's a big one. Yeah.
And the fact that his statement was no one will ever investigate it. But Sam and Colby got to investigate it because they are rolling in 7 million YouTube followers.
Oh, for sure.
I'm
sure you write a big enough check. It's like, it's kind of persuasive. It's kind of changes the mind a little bit because I had an inroad for the museum as well. And I was like, tell me honestly, what are the odds of us getting in to investigate? And they were like, not good. And I was like, okay. That's fair.
You worry, like, do they call places and just offer 10 grand?
It might be that maybe they start high and they're just like, okay, well, is it more? And they just like go up from there. But like, there's some places that are like tiny that like $5,000, and I'm like, $5,000 for what? You're like 2,000 square feet.
The Museum of Death in Hollywood wants $5,000.
Yeah.
Do they really?
And it's very. That was what, Brian?
But that was years ago. Who knows what they want now?
Who knows what they want now? Yeah.
Yeah, and they're very small.
And it's like, it's tiny. We're gonna step on each other in here.
Yeah.
Like, I got the Viper Room over pandemic. I had secured that at one point, and they're normally $5,000, and they were gonna give it to me for $2,500.
Were you gonna get the whole club?
The whole club, because it was shut. It was during shutdown, and they were like, nobody's in here. No, like one manager's in here just to make sure, basically just to do day-to-day stuff.
That still seems like a lot.
It's a lot for like one club, and it's not big. A Viper Room's not big.
Yeah.
But it's the upstairs and the downstairs. And I was like, well, that's a lot, but it is the Viper Room though, and it's LA, so I know we're gonna be paying out of the nose too. So It's kind of a deal, kind of a steal. I don't know what they want now. They probably, since they're reopened now, they probably want $5,000 or more. But
well, also when you're location scouting, the funnest thing is finding that very famous local place that everyone in town knows about and no one's ever heard of. And once you click on it, all this stuff rolls out. Yeah. Like I remember when I found Picnic Table 29, I was like, "What is that?" That's the haunted picnic table in Griffith Park where a couple died making love. They were making love on a picnic table and a tree fell on them, and they both died.
That's not like the Almighty's, I guess, telling you you're done. That's your out check.
And then
that is awful.
That's some Final Destination stuff right there.
They were cremated, and their ashes were spread over the picnic table. And it's still dedication. There.
That's weird.
And the tree is still on it. We have a great episode on it on our YouTube channel. Go check it out.
That is dedication and death, is what.
But it's something like that. You've never heard the story. You find it, and then you find a million things about it, and you're so excited to have discovered this little place.
There's some that are like that. They're like you're not really sure because there's a few like that in Nevada. There's Commercial Casino in Elko, which people in the Elko area, which is in northern Nevada, it's kind of it's near Reno, but kind of more to the east of Reno. So it's about the same distance, but it's east instead of west. But there's a huge casino that's been closed since the beginning of the pandemic. I don't know if they've reopened since then, but I reached out to them, and then everybody that worked there that talked to us, everyone that's in that area, they're like, oh yeah, no, that place is haunted. They're like, that place is haunted. The top floors are condemned. They've been condemned since the 80s. You go in there, there's really no electricity on the third floor. We had stuff thrown at us in that third floor. It's one of those where people were like, what? I've never heard of that place. Where is that? Yeah.
I can count just from doing this show the ones people tell me about. I'm like, what? Now you were just talking, what was the place you were talking about before we came on?
The Black Monarch Hotel, which is in Victor, Colorado. Shout out to the Black Monarch.
The Black Monarch.
I love it.
So it's in a town. First of all, the town of Victor, Colorado is basically a ghost town. It is tiny. There are 400 people that live there.
Smaller than Goldfield?
It's a little bit smaller than Goldfield. It's basically mining. It's 10 minutes away from Cripple Creek, and it's about an hour from Colorado Springs. Okay. So it's just this little old mining town that some people still live in, and it's just this itty bitty cute little very Goldfield-ish kind of town. Okay. And there's a hotel. It's a boutique hotel called the Black Monarch that is in this town that is basically the main tourist draw of this tiny town. And all the rooms are themed. The owner redecorated everything. It's an original building. It used to be a casino / bordello in the 1800s. The original part of it burned down. It's been rebuilt, and so now it's been turned into a modern hotel with these serial killer themed rooms. It has a very dark aesthetic, but the whole building is haunted. It is over 100 years old. Wow. And it only has 8 rooms. 8 now because they opened the new annex, but it's mad haunted. And it's a little town that most people are like, where? I don't know where that is.
Yeah.
And is that the kind of place you rent a room and investigate, or you can go investigate the hotel itself?
So the owner Adam was nice enough to, because I reached out to him as a location scout, and it was kind of still during pandemic-ish, and it was still slow. It was very slow time for them. So normally you would Airbnb one of the rooms or multiple of the rooms for the night, but it was a slow time for them. They were doing some renovations. So he's like, I'll give you the hotel for 3 nights, the whole thing.
Wow.
Nice.
In November. It was the end of November, kind of close to Thanksgiving. So he's like, it's a slow time for us anyway. He goes, you guys can film an episode, whatever you want to do there.
That's
so
great.
we had it for 3 nights, and the place is mad haunted. As a matter of fact, there's 2 hotels in Victor. Both of them are very haunted, and we investigated the Black Monarch for the first couple nights, and then the Victor Hotel on the 3rd night before we left. So
sounds so fun.
But it's the town is we showed up at 8 o'clock. It was dark. The town has itty bitty tiny streetlights. we saw more deer in this town than we saw people. The streets are basically like we saw no one. We saw like maybe 2 human beings and like 6 deer.
Those were the people.
Yeah, I was like, do the deer rent houses here? Like, what are the rates for deer?
That deer has boots on. What's going on?
That one has a jacket. That one's eyeing me weird.
Now, so you've done investigations and stuff, and you've been in a lot of the locations you've found.
Yes.
Of all your locations you've discovered or you've been to, what would you say is the most haunted place you've been to?
Probably the most haunted place I've been to, personally, was, I would say, probably the. Oh, that's a tough one, because there's different there's so some of them are so active. I would say probably it was the one I was at with New Reality, and it's outside. It's in Virginia City, and I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Silly me.
Mackey Mansion?
No, it's like an old restaurant. It was in the 50s. It was like open in the 50s. A lot of mob activity at that one, but there's a crazy dark entity in that place.
Oh, wow. Cool.
What are the runner-up? You had such a hard time. What are the 2 runners-up?
I would say probably Black Monarch, just because the place was so active the entire time. Like the entire time we were there. It was like, I'm talking like when you try to sleep, you hear footsteps on the wooden floors outside. I heard something walking.
Crowded.
Oh yeah, it felt crowded. It felt like there were a lot of people there, even when we're trying to sleep and stuff. So I was trying to find the name of that place. Like I was hoping they were still in the chat, because I was like, what's the name of that place? Oh, Cabin in the Sky. So Cabin in the Sky is the place in Virginia City. I do believe it is closed right now. But it's like this old restaurant, but it has had a showroom part. It had some bedrooms in the back. So there was a lot of mob activity in this place, and prostitutes were brought up there and things like that for these back bedrooms. But there is definitely something that is not friendly at all in that place, that likes to mess with people in a really messed up way. Like to the point that people disassociated and like we had to get them back. Like it was, yeah.
It was hard to stay, right?
Yeah.
Because
oh my God, I want to go.
After you're immersed so long, you kind of like, it starts to drain you. You start to get tired.
And it was crazy, because it was during a sensory Estes method sensory deprivation that Cody, who was just on the show, was doing, and he jumped out of the chair all of a sudden because Sean and him were confronting this entity that they've had dealings with before. And he jumped out of the chair and said, it's in my head, and we had to Cody had to leave, and it physically attacked him basically, and then also mentally attacked him. So, and it did the same thing to Levy from Chasing the Darkness Paranormal, who was also with us. Like it started telling him some he was hearing it was bad. It was weird, because it would just try to take people over. You could tell it was trying to actually take them over.
So on top of it being active, the location was aggressive.
It was very aggressive. The spirit that was there was particularly aggressive.
Wow. So when you do get to investigate, what styles do you use? Are you old school, candles and bells, or do you like spirit boxes, or just senses? What's your favorite thing to do?
Well, honestly, the primary tool is the sense. I like to walk the place first and see what feels the different rooms give me, to see where my senses start, the spidey senses, as it were, start to go off. And then after that, once it's you use your body, I just like to use my body as an instrument first. And then I like to go in with recorders are great to catch EVP, is probably one of my favorite things. And then the spirit box as well, kind of in combination. I do like to use the combinations of different things, so you could try to because the best kind of evidence is when you ping it on multiple levels. So when you happen to catch an EVP at the same time you get a hit on a REM pod, that you catch also you catch on a static cam or something like that. So having as much evidence that kind of overlaps, or equipment that overlaps itself, and trying to catch something all in multiple bands is great.
That's perfect. That's exactly what you want because the
Yeah.
evidence proves itself at the same time. You know,
One validates the other. Exactly.
So now, location scouting and investigating. Where do you wish you could go? Do you wish you could go to the East Coast? Do you wish you could go to England? You go to Loftus Hall? You want to go to the pyramids? What are a few locations that are on your bucket list?
So probably I would say, obviously, I mean, like Waverly Hills is one, because I haven't been to Waverly Hills yet. And I would say Leap Castle in Ireland. It is the most haunted castle in Ireland. Reputedly a hugely haunted location, and it's a castle, so I have to go and see what this is about.
I love it.
Gosh, I just get thinking when we're doing these, and I get so like daydreamy.
You're like, I actually know a team in Ireland that was like, hey, come on over. Like, this was pre-COVID, but like they're open to, like, he's been in there before, and they're I'm sure they are down for a collab.
Oh.
That would be so cool.
I was looking at once trying to go to the Loch Ness Monster. I wanted to go to Loch Ness, and then I wanted to also go to either Leap Castle or Loftus Hall, one of the two. And it was all way beyond my price range.
It's like, ouch, airfare is expensive.
Yes, Red Bull. Come on, give me wings. Red Bull. I drank a Red Bull. Come on, man.
You drink one more, you might be able to fly over there just on your own power.
I can make it halfway right now, I think. So what we got coming up is the Paracon in September.
Correct.
So what can you tell us now about this September Paracon?
So basically, PEX 2022 is our second time doing this. So PEX 2021 last year was a takeover of a single location. We took over the Tahoe Biltmore Hotel in Lake Tahoe, Nevada, on the Nevada side. And unfortunately, the Tahoe Biltmore is no more. It has been torn down. So it was the last hurrah for that location. We wanted to kind of send it out with a bang. So that's kind of what we did. We had collected about 5 or 6 paranormal teams to do events with us, to do interviews, to do live investigations. So people bought tickets and they got to investigate with their favorite teams or people they've only ever seen on YouTube or on Paraflix. So we were like, we want to do that again. But she and I, we go big or go home. So we decided, instead of just taking over one hotel, why not take over an entire town?
Yeah.
So we're basically taking over the town of Virginia City for that weekend in September. And we have at least about 8 teams, I think. I don't know off the top of my head. I'm like about that are going to be doing live investigations, same things, all these fun interactions with teams you've only ever seen. You actually get to go ghost hunt with these people, which is super cool. And not a lot of conventions allow you to do that. So we have I think 7 locations right now. Mackey Mansion's one of them. We have the old Washoe Club. So really Silver Queen. So places you've seen on big shows like Ghost Adventures and other programs that are huge. I mean, the whole town of Virginia City is haunted. I'm pretty sure you could find a phone booth and it's haunted. But we're locking down a few more. We're still in the process of getting a few more locations. We just want to make sure we have just a buffet of the paranormal for people to enjoy.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
And it's a confession. I whisper it that I've never been to Virginia City.
It's okay. I've never been up there either because I'm in Las Vegas. So I don't.
You've never been?
I haven't. I've been up to Tahoe and I've been to Reno, but I have not been up there. So it's I've been to a few places in Northern Nevada. It's one place I haven't actually been yet.
Oh, so this is you're planning your dream vacation.
Oh yeah, I was like, oh, make way, here we go.
It is worth it. It is so worth it.
I'm so excited just to dive in for the few days we're there. I have a weird thing in me. I mean, I teach wrestling and I have children, so I like meeting people who haven't investigated and kind of holding their hand through the basic steps and making them comfortable. There's sort of something fun about that. And I'm looking forward to that, like getting
Oh, for sure.
some people who have never done it and like easing them in and then catching evidence and watch their faces blow
Watch 'em,
up.
like,
Yes,
that happened last year at PEX. We did actually have people that brought some kids with them that were interested in going, and they were like, probably about 9 and maybe 11. And our investigative team that had them was like excited to show them the equipment, and they let the kids hold like the K2 and stuff like that, and they were letting them walk around, and they were like, oh man, they're like, when we got like hits on the K2, they're like eyes lit up. They're like, it was fun. So that's an experience you can't get anywhere else.
It's fun with kids. You explain everything about ghost hunting but the death.
Yeah, don't like they don't need to know that just yet, right? That comes when you're older. We'll explain that in a few years when you come to the next one.
Like my son's Boy Scouting group are always like, they have these little apps they'll have on their phone while we're hiking, and Ben's like, my dad ghost hunts, and I have to like, no, son.
You're like,
tell him.
no.
I'm afraid the whole Boy Scouting troop's gonna want me to take him to like a haunted spot or something.
They're gonna be like, please take us to an abandoned hospital.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Only if you sign waivers, kids.
All right, so you've gone with all these groups. You got all these people coming. Who are some people that inspire you in the paranormal world? Like, who are people you like to watch them investigate that like catch your eye, and who are people that you wish you could investigate with in the future?
I mean, Cody and Sean are great. I've worked with those guys for a long time. New Reality Paranormal is really phenomenal. Like they've investigated some crazy places, and they're like complete legit. I've seen some crazy things that I can't explain when I've been with those guys. So they're top notch, and I really love how they debunk everything too. They have that debunking element that they'll try to explain things before just jumping to the conclusion that it's paranormal. So, there's a lot of people I know that I've investigated with that do that that's a big priority for me. So it's like, want to make sure you're trying to explain the stuff before you just go, it's a ghost. Yeah. Which a lot of teams kind of sometimes just tend to jump to the
But
ghost.
that's what we're looking for.
And it's like you do want to find them, but you also want to make sure it's a real one, and not just like, oh, we're getting interference from a malfunctioning oven, like that's or something, or yes, there's like an air conditioning unit on, and that's why things are blowing in here. It's important to do that. So I would say like teams that do that, like that make debunking like top priority, like New Reality. I'd love to investigate the Foreman brothers. I haven't gotten a chance to get them yet. I've been trying to get them on the show to interview them for a while, but they're so busy. It's really hard to get them. And then, I mean, I would say like I've worked with Matt. I'm on the team with Matt Benton and Levy. They're great. Same thing where they're like very serious about evidence. They're very serious about integrity, and that's really hugely important.
Yeah. There's something about the New Reality, their camaraderie too.
Yeah, they make they're a power couple. I know they're gonna be mad that I called them that, but
the only thing I can say, you feel like you're in the huddle with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
you feel like you're the third person in on this little conversation,
right?
Which is very hard to convey.
And I think that's why, I know they prefer to investigate just them, and I think that's why, because they have such a great dynamic with just the two of them together.
Yeah.
It is such a powerful dynamic. But when you get in there in the mix, if you're able to get in there and like actually work with them, and like it's an experience, because like I said, their dynamic is so unique and it is so powerful that it's crazy. The energy is crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's change routes again. Let's go back to the dead hours.
Yes.
So let's say you get someone, how do you kind of come up with your questions? Do you come up with, because I remember you had your 10 questions at the end, but then you also had very unique questions. Like my goal for this is always to like ask a question, have someone go, oh, I've never been asked that before. Like that's kind of what you want, right?
Right. Yeah.
So what do you research and try to do for a new guest?
So I'll if they have a program on, I mean, generally they do either have a podcast or they have a YouTube channel or they have a show on Paraflix. I'll watch their content, see how they investigate, see what kind of equipment they use, look into their background. There's been a few that I've interviewed that, like, you know, their outside hobbies are they're musicians turned ghost hunters. So I, you know, find out, like, I listen to the music that they've done before and ask them questions about that. I'm like, how did you get from this to this? So it's just doing a deep dive on the person and finding out as much as you can about your guest. And also, like, you want to make sure you concoct your questions in a way that allows for, like, an organic conversation to happen, because you don't want to just be like, nobody wants to be like, and then what do you do when this happens? And nobody wants to, like, sit on an interview that's like very just like straightforward black and white answers. You want to make sure that it's a thought-provoking question, that it's something that can lead to tangents where they're like, oh, well, let me tell you about this one time. And then it's like, and then it just could go off in a whole other direction that you did not expect it to go in. So those are the best questions. You try to, like, kind of formulate really, like you said, really thought-provoking questions that make people go down the rabbit hole a little bit, like we talked about.
I like to watch other interviews they've done and avoid all those questions.
Right.
And
avoid the questions people have been asked 100 times, because, you know, it's like, as a paranormal investigator, you guys know the questions you've been asked every time you get interviewed. Are you scared at a location? I try to avoid questions like that because you guys get asked that all the time. So it's like, I like to ask things that maybe aren't as commonly asked.
But see, I also like to shuffle them in, because those are the ones that everyone wants to know, that little bit of everybody. They want to know how everyone got started, and they want to kind of know everybody's favorite stuff. But then they also want to know their most intimate kind of moment, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
But so, have you ever been scared anywhere?
No.
Really? I'm always scared. I'm always so scared.
And that's not bad. Like, being scared is not a bad thing.
I can count the last investigation I didn't cry. Oh my god. Every time.
No, like, I mean, you get startled sometimes if something loud or sudden happens. Like, I've had a door fall in a room, and, like, that was loud and startling. But I mean, I don't know, like, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know, it's just maybe the adrenaline's so high in the moment that it's just like, I'm like, like, you know, I'm just like, I want to Hulk out and just, like, run after whatever the thing is. Like, probably bad. It's probably bad. I'm gonna get possessed one of these days.
I always get.
I'm gonna run after the wrong thing.
Mandy, do you get scared? You've gone through a lot since I've met you, Mandy. So what's changed since in the last year for Mandy? Do you still get scared like you did a year ago, or is your skin getting thick fast?
No, I don't get scared like I used to. But there are moments, you know, where you do get startled. I guess it's not really fear; it's just more startled. But definitely, no, it's changed over the years for sure.
Yeah. I've noticed a change in your, I don't want to use the word attack, but your direction when you ask questions. It's more confident, and it's really cool. And I know the only time I've ever seen Brian act scared was when we went to the Goldfield, and he goes, "Where's the basement?" And I go, "It's down those stairs." And he looked, and it was just pitch black spiraling staircase of stone. And he just looked like, this may be the only place I've ever been scared. that was the only time I think Brian's been scared.
You gotta love a good basement, though.
Yeah.
Right.
I wasn't scared.
It
was just a staircase into no.
You were anticipating the scared. And I see stuff and just scream like a baby and start crying. So
there was one time we were at a location and I was there with Haunted Side. We were at Commercial Casino, and Patrick had done his solo investigation. He'd come back downstairs, and Jason went up to do his solo investigation, and he was like, "Guys, I really don't want to go up there." He goes, I really don't want to go up there. And we're like, he's like, "I'll go up there because I have to," but he's like, "I really do not want to go up there." So he went upstairs, and 2 minutes later he's back. And Patrick was like, "Are you done already? That was really fast." And he's like, "I don't want to be up there." Literally, his solo investigation is the funniest thing I think I've ever seen in my life, where he walks up there and there's no power. There's like limited power on the second floor, but there's no power at all on the third.
Yeah.
So he goes up to the second floor, looks down the hallway with his camera. So you don't see him at all. He's just holding the camera, looks down the hallway that's like semi-lit and looking really spooky, looks behind him, looks back down the hallway and goes, "Nope," and just leaves. And just back down the stairs. Was like, no,
I can relate.
no.
I can absolutely relate, brother. There's something about being alone. And I think that's why I enjoy this. But when I'm alone, the switch is clicked, and I am 9 years old and terrified of the dark, scared out of my mind, and it's so fun.
I feel like to me it's more fun. Yeah, it's like I think I get the more fun aspect of it. Like I get more like it's I guess more of an adrenaline rush and more of a fun thing of like I want to see what happens next. Like there was same location. We had to go back upstairs to go get the equipment that was on the third floor.
Well, that's always
and
fun.
Jason's like, "I don't want to go up there by myself again," because he's like, "I'm not going up there by myself again." He's like, "Will you go up with me?" And I was like, "Yes, I'll go up with you to get the equipment."
And then
so we're walking upstairs and we go up into that hallway he noped at. And we're walking down the hallway and I was like saying something. I'm just like walking around looking and I'm not like affected. He goes, "How are you not scared right now?" And I was like, "I don't know. I think it's fun." Like, I was like, this is like roller coaster time for me.
I can't handle it. I'm not a terrible investigator. I just can't. I get too scared. I am a
I'm always more scared.
What, Brian?
I'm always more scared I'm going to run into a spider than a spirit.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
that's
those
so
locations
true.
are kind of dusty sometimes, and this one had bird poop in it, and I was like, dude, I'm more scared of getting hantavirus from this bird poop than I am of ghosts.
So for Dead Hours is still going strong, or? I haven't done an interview on Paraflix in a little while. I kind of went on a little bit of a hiatus because I got like tied up with doing some other things and kind of went in a little bit of a different direction somewhat. I mean, it's still on there, and I would still like to do some more interviews, but it's just kind of getting back into the scheme of things because I did start doing true crime, a true crime spinoff called The Murder Corner that's on the Dead Hours. So I have mostly true crime on the YouTube channel now. So the YouTube channel's still going. It's pretty much been taken over with the true crime aspect, where the paranormal aspect stays on Paraflix, and then the true crime stuff is on YouTube. I have a Scientology documentary that's on there that has 40,000 views on it. Cool.
So it's kind of like I did a whole cults mini series and like have done serial killer episodes. So, which is just always a fun like little like because there's always a little paranormal aspect to some of the serial killer stories, especially with the locations if they still exist and if you're able to get in there. That was one of the ones when I did the Ed Gein episode. Somebody was like, "I really want to go investigate that farm," and I was like, "Well, you can't because it burned down, but that would be cool if you could."
Yeah.
So. It's one of the, and then just PEX has been like crazy, keeping me crazy busy. So
with
there's
Dead Hours,
literally only two of us doing
when it comes back, for the Dead Hours, who are some? You can reach out to them now if they're listening. Who are some guests you wish you could get for Dead Hours?
I mean, I definitely would like to get like I said, the Foreman brothers would be great. I'd love to have Ghost Show back on. Those guys are amazing, out of New York. And they've been doing some really cool things, and they have some really cool things in the works that I'd love to highlight. And then, some other teams that I'm like friends with on I have friends with on Facebook, and the ones that did the Skinwalker Ranch documentary. I reached out to them, so it's like stuff like that. I think probably maybe Sam Baltresis, Mike Rexecker, some of the people that are like a little bit have some books out that I would love to interview.
Yeah.
Ask them about their books and things. I probably butchered their names.
Books. We're trying to do one every week for this year, and that's sort of our goal. And we're getting to this we're past the halfway point. And at first I was trying to schedule it so tight and people would forget they were scheduled, and then it started becoming, ask everyone on Tuesday, and then it started
Right, like, hey, do you want to do it?
Yeah, man, we're really trying to find every week. Though someone pops, and we get a great guest every week.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it's happening. I don't even know who's next week. So whoever's next week, if you already know who you are, message me.
Send me a message because
Whoever you are.
Because you're out there. You're out there somewhere.
Basements are oddly comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to read some comments too. So we got that Paracon coming up. What else does the future hold for you? What are some plans you have for maybe not the rest of this year, but next year? Like what's the end game for Vivian Noir?
Hopefully, I mean, like I said, maybe bringing back more interviews and doing some more like things like that for Paraflix. If not that, it's definitely going to be planning PEX next year.
Okay.
So it's going to be a yearly thing. We're hoping to expand it every year and potentially move it around to different locations, different cities, maybe even take it global at a point if it becomes large enough to take it international. So it's definitely, that's going to be a continuing thing. So PEX is going to continue to be a part of everything I do. So the show may be contingent on how big that gets and how much time that ends up taking. But I also, I write on the side. I have 3 published books on Amazon. So like there's always trying to get back to like writing and stuff, which I keep putting on the back burner. And I'm like, I really need to finish my book. I really need to do that. And then I just don't have time. But I got a lot of irons in the fire. So there's a lot of possibilities of this. There's a lot of arcs that this could go.
Yeah. It's always great to talk to people who are kind of looking at a lot of aspects, because that's always kind of I'm the man of 5 side hustles at a time,
a lot of spinning plates, right?
Yes, always so many. And I've had to stop. I literally had like 3 hobbies that were growing that I had to completely stop till like December. Like I was like I'm not game streaming. I'm stopping my stand up, and I'm gonna stop sculpting this thing I was trying to make. Like I have to stop all those till after the end of the year.
Right.
I was not. Yeah, I wasn't doing the right stuff.
Like I don't have time for all of the things. There's so many things.
Now, have you already thought about other locations for PEX?
Yes. So we would love to have it on the East Coast. We would like to take it to the East Coast. We're looking at Florida potentially for a location. Maybe next year. We're not sure yet. We're not putting a pin in anything just now, but we do have one of our teams is from Florida and who's reached out to us and said, hey, like come out and visit. We want to show you some places. So if we can get some good make some good connections when we go out there, we would love to have it in Florida, maybe potentially next year. We would love to have it in New Orleans.
New Orleans would be great.
Or Salem, Massachusetts. Like
Salem.
There's a ton of possibilities. And like I said, it could even be crazy. Like we can even take this international. We have several Canadian teams that I'm sure would love to we could hit up either West or East Coast Canada.
And they're very friendly.
Oh yeah. So I've never been to Canada, so why not? I want to go to Tim Hortons. I've been robbed of going to Tim Hortons. So and then international, because I know, I've spoken to several teams in, the UK and Ireland and
UK ghost hunting is getting really big right now.
It is.
It's always been big, but there's like I'm seeing a lot of groups that are getting a lot of attention.
There's a lot of traction there, a lot of traction, and it seems like their TV. I don't know if it's their streaming services or their TV channels as well are starting to pick up a lot of paranormal shows. Yeah,
I'm seeing a lot of people with small, kind of small Instagram teams I've followed, are showing premieres, and I'm like, oh yeah,
you have a show, that's cool.
So but they're all like, British-based paranormal teams.
Yeah, I mean, there's countries thousands of years old, so there's a lot of material to investigate.
Yeah,
a lot of places.
I remember talking to a creature suit performer that was from London, and he said it's not the same. It's like, and he's someone who kind of believes, and he's like, you come to America, you come to the States, and it's, these buildings are from 1900. You walk through England, these buildings are from 1200. And just the spirits are hanging out the windows in England.
Yeah.
it's not like it is here. Now this is something
Feel
Brian,
crowded. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I think you might have.
But I can't imagine the crowding feeling.
I can't imagine being in such an old place. I've done a little foreign traveling in the wrestling days, but I wasn't traveling. I wasn't paying attention. But
Right.
Now we are.
But it's like
This
is crazy.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, it's
I don't
so
know,
crazy.
like that's nuts.
Yes. Some places are just so full, and I hear London and Paris, probably because of the catacombs of Paris, just overflowing.
Oh, absolutely.
But we're novices of. I think Mandy has more Paracon experience than me and Brian. I've never been to one, and I've never understood Paracons, and I've never known what to do as an investigator. Like, since I'm already an investigator, do I go invest? I don't go pay to investigate. Like, I don't understand. Like,
But why not? Like, it's fun though.
well,
Yeah.
I did Nick Ross.
It's fun to meet new people and to see how other people investigate and just to be a part of that community.
I didn't know Brian. What did you say, Brian?
I said, says you meet new people.
Yeah. Well, it's always been like, I think I've said it on here before. There was a rule in wrestling is like, once you start training, you can't ask for an autograph again. You know what I mean? Like when you meet the Undertaker, you shake his hand because you're both wrestlers now. And I always kind of felt that way with ghost hunting. Like, well, now that we're on Paraflix, we got our show. We can't go to a Paracon as a fan anymore. I felt like we were not allowed. And so I'm
That's so silly.
It's forbidden now.
Well, but it'd be like, what was that, Brian?
Steven and I both, both work in special effects for film and television, and you encounter big famous people all the time, and on rare occasion it will be something so special that you're like, you have to clear that you can actually ask them or get an autograph from them.
Yeah.
But most of the time, because you're working with them on a professional level, you can't really approach them for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because you're supposed to be there as a professional, not a fan pestering them, which happens the minute they step out the door. So,
of course.
And that's sort of what I've always felt like. Like, I always felt like, oh, well, I can't go to a Paracon because then when the group investigation happens, do I be quiet or do I like start full Steve investigation, and they go, can someone shut that guy up? Who is that? What I'm trying to get to is I'm so excited.
We do that during investigation.
I did
quite often during our investigation. High up.
Exactly. It's always me. I went to one and I felt bad. It was a little group at an Octagon house, and Chad Lindbergh was running the group, and we were like the 10th group of 10 people. And me and my wife had went, and he did not feel like running this group. And he was like holding the spirit box, and it was like, does anyone want to talk? And the spirit box goes, Steven. And he goes, anyone named Steven? I go, I'm Steven. And he goes, think you could talk to this thing for a minute? And I stood up and just took it, and I just like ran the room for him, and he was like, thank you, brother. I was at my end of my candle. Like,
so I'm the paranormal hangover is starting to set in now, and I am out of steam.
So I just grabbed the spirit box and led the group for him, and he was very grateful. He probably doesn't remember that, but what I'm saying is I'm so excited to now be a part of the Paracon and to have other people come and to get to experience it with us.
Yeah.
And I'm on that side, and I'm just happy. I want to say thank you, Vivian, for having us.
Of course.
And thank you for letting us be a part of your vision, and together let us make, what you have in your mind. We hope we make it come true, and we hope we live up to the hype and make everything great for you.
Oh, for sure. We're excited to have you guys. We're excited to have all the guests there because, honestly, we couldn't have a Paracon if it wasn't for investigators. We didn't have people, to run the groups and get people excited about this and investigate. That's what this is all about. So it's thank you guys for agreeing to be there.
We have a question for you. The drawings
Yeah.
behind you, did you draw them?
I did not draw them. I did not
Okay.
draw them. I bought them from Amazon.
Oh,
They're very cool. They're skulls.
they are very cool.
I wish I could draw that well. I cannot. I do digital art, okay, but drawing, no.
Well, all right. It is 9 o'clock. That is 1 hour. That's my time. I want to say thank you, Vivian, for coming on and letting us throw questions at you. I want to say
Yay,
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. It's been fun.
Thank you for having us to the PEX Paracon.
Always.
I am so excited to come to that. And thank you everybody for watching, and thank you Red Bull for sponsoring the show.
Because you're gonna,
They
whether you're gonna.
Disclaimer: Red Bull did not sponsor this show.
Red Bull did not sponsor the show. Okay, all right. Well, thank you everyone, and from Hollywood Paranormal Detectives. Good night. Say good night, Brian.